You've heard the ocean described as the final frontier, the last truly unknown place on our planet. But here's what nobody really stops to tell you. Something is already down there ruling all of it. Not a robot, not a submarine, a living, breathing mammal. And the more you learn about what it actually is, what it can do, and why nothing on Earth can stop it, the more you realize the ocean isn't just unknown, it's its territory. The sperm whale. Physeter macrocephalus. Even the scientific name is a flex. It comes from the Greek word for blower, referencing the single crooked blowhole sitting off to the left side of its enormous head like an afterthought. These animals have been swimming around this planet for roughly 23 million years. They predate us by an almost incomprehensible margin, and in all that time they have refined themselves into something so precisely engineered for dominance that it genuinely does not make sense on paper. Let's start with the basics, because the basics alone are already alarming. A fully grown male sperm whale can reach up to 52 feet in length and weigh somewhere between 45 and 50 tons. For scale, that's heavier than 8 fully grown African elephants lined up side by side. Their head alone takes up about a third of their total body length. They have the largest brain of any animal that has ever existed on this planet, more than 5 times the weight of a human brain. They can live for 70 years or more. And they spend the vast majority of that long life doing something that, biologically speaking, should be completely impossible for a mammal. They dive into the deep ocean. Not snorkel depth, not recreational scuba depth, not even the depth that experienced military divers operate at with all their gear. We're talking about depths that exceed 600 to 500 feet. Some evidence suggests they go considerably deeper than that. For context, 6,500 feet is roughly the equivalent of stacking more than 4 Empire State Buildings on top of each other, all pointed downward into blackness. And the sperm whale does this routinely on a single breath and comes back up completely fine. To understand why this is extraordinary and honestly terrifying, you need to understand what that environment actually does to things that enter it. The deep ocean is not simply dark and cold, though it is absolutely both of those things. The zone where sperm whales hunt, sometimes called the midnight zone or the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones, starts around 3,000 feet down and extends far beyond. There is zero sunlight. The temperature hovers just above freezing. And the pressure, this is the part that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. The pressure at 2,000 meters of depth is approximately 200 times the pressure at the surface. That is 200 atmospheres pressing in on every single surface of whatever is down there. At those depths, the water pressure exceeds 3,000 pounds per square inch. What does that mean for a human body? Almost instant death, and not a clean one. Any air-filled space in your body would be catastrophically compressed before you could process what was happening. Your lungs would collapse, your sinuses would implode, the air pockets inside your ears would be violently crushed. Your ribcage, rigid and unyielding as human ribcages are, would simply shatter under the pressure. And if somehow you survived the compression on the way down, you'd have the bends to deal with on the way back up, decompression sickness, where nitrogen that dissolved into your blood under pressure comes bubbling back out as the pressure drops, like opening a shaken soda bottle inside your bloodstream. This is fatal if it happens fast enough, and at the depths we're talking about, it absolutely would. None of this happens to the sperm whale. Here's why, and this is where things get genuinely remarkable. First, oxygen. All mammals carry oxygen in their blood via a protein called hemoglobin, and in their muscles via a related protein called myoglobin. Sperm whales have evolved to have concentrations of myoglobin so dense in their muscle tissue that the muscles themselves turn a deep brownish black color. Scientists confirm this. It's not a quirk, it's a physiological adaptation that essentially turns the whale's entire body into a massive biological oxygen tank. Before a dive, the whale takes one deep breath. But that breath is almost incidental to how it actually stores oxygen. The real reserves are locked into the blood and muscle tissue, not sitting in the lungs waiting to run out. Second, pressure. This is the one that breaks your brain a little. When a sperm whale descends into deep water and the pressure begins to mount, its ribcage, which is bound by cartilage that is far more flexible than anything in a human chest, simply collapses inward. The lungs compress down to a tiny fraction of their normal size. In sperm whales that dive beyond 2,000 meters, the lungs may compress to less than 1% of their surface volume. This sounds horrifying, but it's a feature, not a bug. By collapsing the lungs, the whale forces whatever air remains into the trachea, where gas exchange with the blood cannot occur. No nitrogen enters the bloodstream. No nitrogen means no bubbles on the way back up, no bends. The whale has essentially bypassed the entire problem that would kill anything else attempting that dive. And at around 900 feet below the surface, the whale stops actively swimming altogether, just falls. Free falling through the darkness on momentum alone, conserving every last bit of energy for the hunt at the bottom. Third, cold. Water conducts heat away from a warm body approximately 25 times faster than air does, at near freezing temperatures in the deep ocean. An unprotected mammal would be in serious hypothermic trouble within minutes, regardless of whether the pressure killed it first. The sperm whale solves this with blubber, a dense, insulating layer of fat and protein sitting just beneath the skin. In sperm whales, this blubber layer can reach more than 45 centimeters thick in places. It is not simply padding. It is a biological insulation system that keeps the whale's core temperature stable while the surrounding water sits near 0 degrees Celsius. In the extremities, the flippers, the tail flukes, where blubber is thinner and heat loss is greater, the whale uses a system called counter-current heat exchange. Warm arterial blood flowing out from the core runs directly alongside cold venous blood returning from the extremities. The heat transfers between them, keeping the returning blood from chilling the whale's vital organs. It is an engineering solution so elegant that human engineers have studied it for industrial heat exchange design. So here we have an animal that has solved pressure, oxygen depletion, and hypothermia all at once, and done so in a body weighing up to 50 tons that can descend thousands of feet into the abyss and return to the surface completely fine. But surviving the dive is only part of the story. What is it actually doing down there, and how does it find anything in complete, total darkness? The answer is sound. Specifically, the most violent, extreme, overwhelming sound produced by any living creature on this planet. Inside the sperm whale's enormous, block-shaped head sits a massive organ filled with a waxy, oily substance called spermaceti. This is actually where the whale gets its name, from old whalers who misidentified the substance. This spermaceti organ, which can hold up to 530 gallons of the stuff, functions as a kind of biological acoustic lens. The whale generates clicks in specialized nasal passages, bounces those clicks through the spermaceti, focuses and amplifies them, and then fires them out through the front of its head into the water ahead of it. These are not gentle sounds. These are not even particularly loud sounds in the way humans think about loudness. The clicks produced by a hunting sperm whale have been measured at up to 236 decibels, confirmed by Guinness World Records as the loudest sound produced by any animal on Earth. To give you a frame of reference, a jet engine at full thrust produces around 150 decibels in air. The human pain threshold starts at about 130 decibels. A sperm whale's click is so far beyond those numbers that the comparison barely registers. Researchers who have been in the water near actively clicking sperm whales describe the experience not as hearing a sound, but as feeling it pass through your body, through your bones, your chest, your skull. At close range, the clicks are theorized to be capable of stunning or disorienting smaller prey outright, but the purpose of the clicks is echolocation. The sound travels out into the dark water at extraordinary distances, bounces off whatever is in its path, and returns to the whale as an echo. The sperm whale's brain, the largest brain on the planet, processes those returning echoes in real time to construct an extraordinarily precise three-dimensional map of its surroundings. It can determine the distance, size, direction of movement, and exact position of prey hundreds of meters away in absolute darkness. By the time the whale is anywhere near its target, it has already known exactly where that target is for a very long time. And that target, the primary reason the sperm whale bothers with all of this, is the giant squid. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, is not a small animal. They can reach lengths of up to 43 feet or more and weigh several hundred pounds. They have the largest eyes of any living creature, up to 10 inches across, designed to detect the faint bioluminescence of the deep. Their suckers are ringed with serrated, tooth-like structures. They are, by almost every measure, a deeply formidable animal designed to dominate the midnight zone. And the sperm whale hunts them anyway, specifically, deliberately, on purpose as its primary food source. The fight between a sperm whale and a giant squid is not a clean one. This is not a hawk snatching a field mouse. The giant squid is not passive prey. Its entire strategy in the encounter is built around a single unavoidable fact: the sperm whale is on a clock. The whale has one breath, it spent time getting to depth. Every second of the encounter is a second closer to the moment when the whale must choose between letting go and drowning. So the squid fights. Violently, it deploys all 8 arms and both long tentacles against the whale's skin, raking and gripping and tearing with its serrated suckers. We know this because sperm whales routinely surface bearing enormous circular scars across their heads and bodies. Some of these scar patterns are massive, running across several feet of the whale's skin. The squid really does damage. It just doesn't do enough damage. The weight discrepancy between the two animals is so extreme that raw physical resistance from the squid, however violent, is rarely sufficient to stop the whale. A large giant squid might weigh somewhere between 400 and 600 pounds. A sperm whale weighs up to 100,000 pounds. The squid can be as long as the whale, or nearly so, but length doesn't translate to mass. And mass is what wins this kind of fight. When the whale clamps its jaw around the squid's body, sperm whale teeth are large, conical, and located only in the lower jaw, fitting into sockets in the upper. It is holding something that, despite being enormous by squid standards, is simply overwhelmed by the sheer physical force of a 50-ton body that has committed to the catch. The squid can win. It does happen. But estimates suggest that the squid successfully escapes in the vast majority of these encounters. What's perhaps more surprising is how often the whale fails to catch anything at all. Researchers believe that individual dives result in a successful catch only around 10% of the time. The ocean is vast. The deep is dark even to echolocation across certain distances. The squid is fast and can sacrifice a tentacle to escape. Most dives come up empty. The whale surfaces, breathes, recovers for several minutes, and dives again. It does this for its entire life, sometimes logging 42 or more deep foraging dives in a single day. There is one more thing about sperm whales that doesn't get enough attention, and it's the thing that when you actually sit with it, is the most unsettling of all. They talk to each other. Sperm whales produce not just echolocation clicks, but a wide repertoire of distinct vocalization patterns, rhythmic sequences of clicks called codas that function as social communication. Different populations of sperm whales around the world have been documented to use different coda patterns, distinct enough that researchers have described them as dialects. Different clans, identifiable by their social groupings and movement patterns, use different codas consistently across generations. Individual whales appear to have their own identifying patterns within their coda repertoire, what some scientists have cautiously described as something resembling a personal voice. Research into sperm whale communication is ongoing and active, and the picture that is emerging is of a social species with complex, learned, culturally transmitted communication that varies geographically and individually, something we previously associated almost exclusively with humans and a handful of other species. The sperm whale is not a monster. It is not a threat to humans in any meaningful direct sense. We are not in its habitat and we are not on its menu. But it represents something genuinely humbling about what life on this planet is capable of producing. An animal that has been here for 23 million years, that weighs 50 tons and dives 6,500 feet on a single breath. That produces the loudest sound in the entire animal kingdom and uses it to map absolute darkness. That bears the scars of violent battles conducted in conditions that would kill a human being instantly. That communicates in what may be a language. And that does all of this, every single day, completely out of sight, beneath the surface of an ocean we have barely begun to understand. The deep ocean is not empty. It is not silent. And whatever is down there, it has been down there far, far longer than we have been up here.